go back and here you'll see some work photos I took. It had a grab on it, and that would grab a tree and sack it, or grab a tree, put after it's trimmed. All the branches are trimmed off after they fell, and all the branches are removed. Then they're cut to 32-foot length, okay, and then they're put on a 18-wheel load side. So we have maybe 5 laborers, altogether 4 operators, and the fellers. On the smaller one spread, we'd have 2 fellers. It's odd how it works out because it was so spread out. Every once in a while we get good days and cut down maybe 100 trees, 200 trees with that other group. But most of the time...
I didn't hire your crews then because I have a forestry division in Atlanta that works for me. Okay, and we have 4 grapplers, 3 sky lifts.
So you're used to it?
Yeah, but not that kind of work. I mean, not that massive work. I mean, because we have a storm come through anytime.
Right.
So we have to send them out, or they go for dead trees. They go for trees that are it's a city right away. We have to deal with.
And part of your crew area was up there when we in the Yellowstone, when we had all that with the beetle kill and the fire. We learned a lot of lessons from your crew.
My question to you, just how is it easy to get loggers to work? Because I'm having problems getting forced to finding qualified people to do trees. Yes.
We went to Oregon.
To Oregon?
Yeah. There's a lot, there's loggers. One of the problems is, like, before George Herbert Walker Bush left the White House, year before, he decided, and his advisors decided, that they should put a moratorium on logging.
Okay.
So they did a moratorium on logging. They did one in California, and this is one of the problems. Colorado, Oregon, and I think Washington State too. But I think there's still, logging going on. It's national forest type logging. So.
Is that a grabber?
Yeah. So are we doing this?
I don't know.
If we want to do it this way. So you go right back here though. You keep going past the spotted owl and some other stuff. I got work photos in there. And that's a grinder, okay?
That's huge.
We had 3 Vermeer grinders, and what happens is they bring the trees into the staging area. Okay, we have massive stacks of trees, okay, or logs. They'll bring them in. They'll cut them again, maybe in half, to make it a sensible size to feed into the grinder. And you can see that's really steam coming off those logs. So then they're ground into chips. And then you have 18-wheel high sides that are enclosed. Use a belt on the grinder, and it feeds those. It takes like maybe an hour plus to fill one of those trucks. And this is a problem. The National Forest Service says that you can't use these logs for anything once they're infested. So they have to be ground, okay? They're ground into chips. Then the chips have to go to a biomass facility, okay? We all understand.
They're actually bringing it down.
Say that again.
They're taking it from a chip down to a mulch.
Yeah. And then they're okay, mulch.
Yeah.
Now, I got a question. Like when our trees are infected,
right?
They still put them in mulch. They might go to the landfill for ours, or they might go to a playground and made into around the trees or whatever.
Okay, so
yeah.
Now, are yours infested with a bark beetle?
No, I mean it might be dead from other things, but
okay.
I've not seen any so far. Beetles, stuff like that.
Yeah. So that's the problem is, and I don't know. I guess I see their point because they don't want to risk infesting other locations, right? But the cost, the closest biomass plant from the Sierras where we're working is over 2 hours away in Stockton, California. Okay? So you got 2 hours of trucking just to a facility. So you add that up with the $125 it was averaging per tree just to cut, just to load, trim, load, and then take to our laydown area to the grinder. It was 125 bucks a tree. That's what it averaged. So we have in the forest, I've read different reports in there on the amount of dead trees there are. The thing that nobody seems to argue about is there's like plus over 100 million, okay? If you go to the Sierras right now, if you're up around Yosemite, and that was what we were doing. We're keeping the road safe going into Yosemite from, different directions. The other thing we're doing is, it's pedestrian safety, vehicular safety and all that. Well, the state has just issued some new rounds of tree removal. The contracts are only a $5 million contract. If you look, I put together a proposal to Mariposa County in here for some, they figured they had like 500,000 trees to remove.
That's not enough money.
Pardon me?
You're losing money.
I
say you're losing money then.
Yeah. So the problem with that is that people don't understand, Caltrans understand it, and, they bid anything from bridges to highways to you name it. It's union work, right? They're used to union work. Well, the little counties aren't used to union work and the pricing. If eventually the feds are going to have to step in, and when the feds step in, it's Davis-Bacon. Okay, it's prevailing wage. So when it's prevailing wage, it's the same as paying union wages. So it's going to cost a lot of money. Some people say, well, why don't we just burn them? If you read through here, that's the reason I printed these out. There's a lot of information in here. You can't really burn them. You have too many animals, too much plant life, stuff like that. The emissions, we got enough just with the forest fires we have in California alone. It's a mess. Removing the trees near a highway, that's one thing. But going up the side of the mountain, that's a whole other thing. And talking to the loggers, you cut a road in, there are already existing roads. Then you even put in like cable systems just to pull them down to the road, and then you have to truck them out. So if we figured we could get like maybe 300-400 trees a day with one crew. If you're in the forest, you can fall more trees than that, easy. But the problem then is the cost. Did you find my Reagan letter or a Trump letter?
I found the cost estimate here that you had in there. That's expensive.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's not.
The state of California, because it spends money on other things, can't afford to do that. The federal government, we were talking maybe a few $1 billion.
Yeah.
To actually do this, it would probably cost. It would be almost like the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. I was on that. I mean, the cost is going to be significant. Probably $10 billion upwards. But I wrote a letter to our president a couple of days ago. My wife mailed it for me. She does all good things. And my recommendation is real simple. China does more composite wood products for furniture, you name it, than any other country in the world. President Trump always talks about the art of the deal. Release that moratorium on shipping, exporting, ship it all to China, let them absorb some of the cost, and get rid of the trees en masse. There's rail sidings up there, the Port of Stockton. You double handle the trees, but that's really not a big deal. And just ship them all to China.
Well, you guys also have the wood pellet people from Montana and Washington State wanting part of that to
Yeah.
get involved in there.
Oh, yeah.
And then fiberboard.
Well, see, that's the other thing. There are usages for it besides the chipping and biomass. Hillary Clinton and the Podestas and others, I've read some articles that are realistic. And Bill Clinton was a proponent of biomass to, energy, okay? So, if you build maybe 50 biomass facilities, sell them back to the grid up there, that's PG&E. PG&E would assist. I mean, they're spending fortunes right now just removing dead trees along their power grid. That's another thing. If you really want to have active domestic terrorism or some type of false flag or whatever you want to call it these days, all you'd have to do is start fires along the power grid itself, okay? You know, everything is going right. In many cases, it's 600 trees per acre. 600 trees per acre, drawing 45 gallons of water a day each from the groundwater. And so we wonder why we have, we know why we have drought in California, but a lot of the water is going to overpopulated trees as well.
Never getting to the lower valley. It's being sucked right there.
Yeah. So the other thing about the Sierras, it provides all that, the winter runoff. It provides all that, water, Yosemite, and the aqueduct system we have in California. So that's kind of the deal. I wrote him a letter. I had some success with Obama on another topic, that was bullying. I've been involved in bullying I was never a bully myself, I'm honest, you know what I mean? But I got involved in it a few years back. And to me, there's some pretty logical, simple fixes in this world, but people choose to ignore them.
Human nature.
Huh?
Human nature.
Yeah.
It's what's in my pocket for me.
What I get from yours will be mine.
That's right, yeah.
So that's my spiel. Anybody questions, answers, or?
Man hours on the, not taking the inclines, in the cable and strapping them down. The high risk hazard there. But you were using actually the people up in Oregon and in Montana, most likely in Idaho.
We were paying subsistence. We had to, and I was really surprised at how many trees they could. It didn't seem like they were working that fast, but they were.
But what was the safety factor as far as?
That's another thing, right? Another reason they brought me up there, they had an incident. A branch fell off a tree while it had been being cut, and it hit a laborer, okay? So we developed a zone of 300 feet and with spotters to make sure that no one would come in that zone. We had both radio and hand signals and, just eye-to-eye contact and verbal communication. When we'd be falling trees, we'd have a closure, okay? We would shut down the road, hopefully for only 20 minutes at a time, both directions. And guys really worked really fast. Another thing about those trees, you know how a good logger can hit a gnat's ass from 200 feet away when they fall a tree?
Right.
These trees, some of them, when you cut them, they implode. Right when they cut them, they'll start to fall, and the whole tree will just implode. Really weird. So you have to be a good logger, you have to get used to it, you have to be very mindful of the situation.
Very hazardous occupation to begin with,
Yeah,
and then adding those elements. How about lightning, and what was their fire?
well, see, that's another thing. So there's lightning, and there's also arson, and there's also campers that make mistakes and set fires. They panic, they'll leave the area, and yeah. But some of the fires we had, several of the fires we had in Santa Rosa last year, there were places in Santa Rosa, I used to live there when I was mining, and there are places that burned that I would have never thought could burn. And then you had all the other fires, the forest fires in the last 2 years, even Bel Air, Bel Air burned. Nobody thought Bel Air would burn.
I grew up in Santa Barbara County.
Huh?
So I grew up in Santa Barbara County. And we had some forest fires out in that area.
Yeah.
Then there was San Luis Obispo and all that area that burned up.
Burning all the way down Mendocino County and all the way down to almost Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of unheard of, but the drought in California, it's pretty bad. 2 years ago when I was working on the trees, that winter we actually had rain. That fall and winter we had rain.
But with all that rain, then it caused mudslides.
Yeah, well that's the other,
Nothing to hold it back.
that when I first moved to California it was 1963. I've worked in 30 states, but 63 was different. It was the old California, and he had all those field homes that really hadn't had any geotechnical input on design for, that reality was. So you'd have your fires, and then you'd have the rain, then you have the mudslides, then you have the homes going down the hills. And it's just a national phenomenon in California. That's nothing new. That's been going on for a long time.
And then the power grid. I noticed there with the wind and the process, the substations, the switching stations, the heat, and the altitudes, that had to be, and it's right down the center, even though they've cut their right-of-ways.
It is. There's, you have PG&E, Northern California, and if you get into Bishop on down, that's Department of Water and Power. Okay? And again, it goes right through the mountains. Power grid goes right through the mountains. If you wanted to be real clever as a terrorist, it would not be that hard to shut down California's energy system.
So what's the biggest job for a safety professional?
What's that?
What's the biggest job for a safety professional in forestry?
What we were doing up there, Caltrans monitored traffic control. So ensuring that, how people are, ensuring that no one tries to go around your flag persons, joggers also, people on bicycles, and getting the word out. We got the word out, a month, maybe plus a month in advance that we were going to be doing the work. Caltrans also posted that we were going to be doing the work. The other thing was private property access. How citizens are, and just once we got access, making sure that none of their folks got in their way or vehicles damaged to private property and stuff like that. So workers themselves, they got in tune with the work we were doing real quick. It was alien to everybody but the loggers. There were operating engineers and laborers, but they were getting paid good money. We were working 12-hour shifts, 10, 12-hour shifts.
So what was the basic general injuries that you would have on the job then?
We have that guy got hit by the tree, just scratched him. We have
Debris, flying debris, falling debris, rolling, hill, knees, probably back injuries as well.
No, that's the thing. You strain your back. We didn't have any phony injuries. If you want to call them phony injuries, because I will. We had a camaraderie between friendly competition between the crews. And there was, oddly enough, a sense of professionalism between the crews. They actually cared, you know? So every morning we'd have our daily pre-test meeting.
Okay.
We had good foremen. I didn't talk that much. I'd let the foreman do the talking. And we had two of them that were really, really safety conscious, aggressive, and meant business. So that's kind of handy, you know.
Yeah, that was my biggest concern.
And I think up there in that area when we were there before was, it is the kind of occupation not everybody can do.
That's the thing. Yep.
I mean, it's selected.
Yeah.
Just a selected group.
Yeah.
That's why I'm having problems trying to fill my forestry crew for the city of Atlanta, because I have I'm supposed to have a 40-man crew. I'm down to 22 folks. Because I can't get qualified, climbers, qualified people to do the new forestry.
We had toppers, that's another thing. The same fellers or loggers weren't the toppers. We had other guys that were toppers. And to properly top a tree and bring it all the way down, depending on size, and they were big, some right at we spent a week right around the Department of Forest, their buildings. And the trees were dead, they had to come down, but that's another thing, climbing a dead tree.
Right.
There's a risk associated
right.
there too. But it would take them a day, almost a day to cut down the sections of one tree, So that's dangerous work, it is.
High risk, high hazard.
Yeah. We had, in Puerto Rico, in Tren Urbano, we had a laborer, well, he's supposed to be an electrician, but he was a laborer. They were working illegally out of a bucket on a backhoe. There were three of them in the bucket. They lied about this to me. Anyhow, it's a long story. But anyhow, he leaned into, couldn't see it in the trees, an active power line. And he got electrocuted, fell, broke his neck also at the same time. But, that's another thing. PG&E, they're spending millions and millions of dollars. They had this one yard, I've never seen so many logs anywhere in my life. And then they brought in the chippers to dispose of them. But, they're spending this money, they have to spend the money. If you're familiar with PG&E at all, they're the ones that had that explosion in San Bruno.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that happens anymore, somebody wants to blame PG&E. Any questions, comments, or?